January 11th, 2023, 6:30 p.m. This is our Finance and Revenue Committee meeting. We apologize for calling this meeting to order a little bit late. We were meeting an executive session to discuss legal matters. Item number 2 is comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda. Okay, seeing none, we'll move ahead to item 3A, which is our December 2022 financials.
Good evening. We could start with page 1, please. Looking at the December 2022 cash balance report, we started the month with $14,465,998 in cash. We brought in $3,885,692. We spent or transferred between funds $3,162,903. This left us with an ending cash balance of $15,188,787 across all the funds. And of this amount, $1,648,866 is left over to fund the general fund operations beginning in 2023. Moving over to page 2. The interfund due to activity remains the same as it was last month. We're still working through these prior year account balances. I do expect to have that reconciliation completed by the end of the first quarter of 2023, and that will be brought before this committee for your review and then on to council. Moving over to page 3, please. The budget to actual summary by department for the year ended December 31st. We had actual revenue of $38,913,172. This is offset by actual expense of $34,797,246. This left us with a net income on a cash basis of $4,115,926. And of this amount, $3,414,259 is attributable to the general fund on a cash basis only. Moving over to the rest of the report, I would like to point out that the statements that you have before you are cash basis purely. That means that any accruals that would have been reversed on 1/1/22 that related to 2021 have been removed, as well as any expenses that relate to 2022 that we would pay for in 2023 are not included, and any revenues from 2022 that we would not receive until 2023 are not reflected here.
Thank you. You mentioned that we had 4.1 million in the net income. 3 million roughly was transferred to the general fund. Where did the other 1 million go?
It wasn't transferred. That's just what the net income that is attributable to the general fund on a cash basis only. That number will not be the same number that we'll see in our audited financial statements because that will include accruals.
And with that, what is the balance in the reserve fund? Don't mind, I apologize.
Yeah, I can get that for you. So right now we're sitting at about $7.9 million.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So looking at the funds for the year ended 12/31, looking at the administration department, the revenues exceeded our budget by $2.9 million. Of this amount, $1 million is attributable to the transfer from the capital operating reserve fund that was not budgeted for, the $1 million from in ARPA funding that was not budgeted for, and $900,000 in variances that are over budget from EIT, real estate taxes, and the health insurance refund. Looking on the expense side for the administration department, we have major line item overages of $95,000. $21,000 is attributable to the HR department for advertising for employment advertising, and legal other at $71,000. Moving over to the police department, police services revenue exceeds budget by $148,000. On the expense side, the major overage is $23,000 in the fuel line item. Moving over to the housing department, permit revenues exceed budget by $363,000. In December, we received a big deposit for a building permit in electrical and mechanical from Haven Behavioral Health. That's for an urgent care facility expansion on Gay Street. On the expense side for the housing department, there's a major overage of $17,000 in the electrical and mechanical outside inspection fees. The IT department has no major expense overages. Looking at Public Works, there's $150,000 in expense overages. This is in the leased vehicle item, line item of $13,000, the fuel expense line item for $45,000, equipment repair for $43,000, and tree expenses for $49,000. Moving over to the Recreation Department, the actual revenues that we have booked year to date are below budget by $56,000. Some of the events and the park rentals, the revenues that we received didn't quite match what we had budgeted for the year. On the expense side, the major expense overage is in the utility line item. That's currently over budget by $12,000. On the fire fund, we have $178,000 of expense overages. This is in the utilities line item for $124,000 and the equipment repairs line item for $54,000. In the wastewater department, revenues are below budget by $289,000. The big one being the tap-in fees for $274,000 and outside plant income for $30,000. On the expense side, we have $210,000 in expense overages. Sludge removal is over by $129,000. The utilities line item is over by $36,000 and fuel oil cost by $45,000. Moving over to the parking department, the revenues are over budget by $241,000. This is in the parking garage revenue, which is over budget by $169,000, and meter revenues of $72,000. On the expense side, we have overages of $117,000, mainly in bank fees, which are $56,000 over budget, supplies and postage, $15,000, garage maintenance of $29,000, and meter operations of $17,000. It is important to note that the parking fund is operating on a small net loss year to date. This is because we did not receive our November remittance from the parking garage. We didn't book any revenue in December because we didn't receive the check until January 5th of this year. Looking at the liquid fuels fund, we did transfer the $404,521 into the general fund. This was to reimburse the ARPA cash account by $245,000 for the street sweeper purchase, as well as the general fund operating cash account for electricity that was spent on PICO bills from the general fund, as well as sign technician and the public works street sweeper hours. And moving over to the stream protection fund, the capital expense line item is $400,000 below budget. We do have some projects that were not completed in 2022 that will need to be rolled forward to the 2023 budget. We do expect to have a capital project reconciliation for your review. We expect to have that completed by the end of the first quarter of 2023. Are there any questions?
Mr. McGinnis, any questions?
None.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have any questions
Thank you.
either. I appreciate it. Any public comment? Okay. Thanks again. Seeing none, we're good to move on then to item 4A, which is to adopt our 2023 borough fee schedule.
So on this fee schedule that you have before you, there's 6 major changes that we're proposing. The first one being a $2.50 increase in the meter bag rate for funerals. That's going from $8, proposed from $8 to $10.50. We are proposing to increase the monthly space rates for Lot 5 and Lot 7 by $15 a space. We are also, we want to change this fee schedule to reflect the agreement that was signed by council back in the fall of this year for the county annual space rentals. We're increasing that from $60 to $75. We're also looking to charge the fee that we pay for specialized document requests for thumb drives. They're usually around $20 or so. And then the last change on this is to charge 75 cents an hour for the EV charging for the public spaces. We will have a resolution for the work session agenda for next week.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns, Mr. McGinnis? Great. Me neither. Any public comments? Questions? All right, thank you. We'll call this 3-0. And then 4B is to approve our meeting minutes from December, which I did not have any issues with. I'm seeing none up here, so we can pass that 3-0. Any other business this evening?
Mr. Allen,
Sure.
just popped in my head, Barb, glanced over on the parking garage deposit.
Mhm.
We didn't receive it in November.
So we
What?
wouldn't receive we wouldn't receive our November remittance until December. I'm not sure what happened on their end. It's typically deposited via ACH, and when I went to reconcile everything for the month, putting these statements together, I saw that we didn't receive our deposit, so I immediately reached out to our parking director, who contacted the parking garage company, and they got it fixed relatively quickly. So I'm guessing it was some sort of glitch on their end where that money wasn't transferred, but we caught it pretty quickly, and we did get the money in early January.
Are we still getting our checks from the district courts on a regular basis?
Yes,
And they're being delivered to the borough manager's office or to
Yes.
your office?
generally they come through the borough manager's office, and then they come into our office for deposit.
Okay, thank you.
Any other business tonight? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and adjourn at 7:10. Thanks so much.
Thank you.